Officially full, and there are bummed people out there. So the rest of you lucky folks,
the rains begin to play.
Did we get that final question fielded?
Yes, we did.
Okay, then let's start off with introductions. If we can start down with the end of the table. Who are you? What do you do?
Okay. I'm Alexandria the Red. I'm from Orange County, California, SoCal. I've been cosplaying for a few years now. So I'm pretty new to the scene, but I'm happy to be here.
I'm Kit Quinn. I'm originally from the Bay Area, but I live in Los Angeles now. Been cosplaying since 2007.
I'm Anasni Voles. I have been cosplaying since 2008. I'm originally from Dallas, but I am now in Southern California. So yeah, hooray!
Hi, I'm Valerie Perez. I've been cosplaying since 2004, and I do a lot of web series, bringing to life a lot of comic book characters for the small screen.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Goner. I've been cosplaying since 2005, and that's it, I think. What? Oh, where am I from? I'm originally from the Bay Area in Lodi, if anyone knows where the center is. Hey, what's up, Lodians? So yeah, that's where I'm from. Currently live in LA though. So, okay, no love for LA, fine.
LA, woo, yay!
Yay!
Hi, I'm Belle Cher. I've been cosplaying since 2005, and I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. Boston, East Coast. I know.
So on a grand scale, whenever we're talking about X of cosplay or Y of cosplay, there's always going to be a lot of positive and negative connotations for that. And in yesterday's panel, we had a panel about the men of cosplay. And what it is to not only be a man who's a cosplayer, but also the role of men specifically within the cosplay community. And also sort of the elephant in the room is the difference between how men who make their living as cosplayers present themselves from a marketing standpoint versus women. And so we're going to touch on a lot of those points, and we're also going to kind of let this flow organically because we've got a lot of very, very good talent up here who's been at this a long time and may also have advice for up-and-coming people who are interested in the hobby as well. So if we can start off, we already talked about a little bit of what your first cons were and what got you into the hobby. But if we can kind of go through and talk a little bit about what were some of the first challenges that you got into when you first got into the hobby? Was it a technical issue? Was it a social issue? And kind of how did you overcome them? Maybe pick the first one that comes to mind as being sort of your biggest first hurdle.
For me, it didn't really necessarily have to do with my skill level because I was, such a beginner when I first started out. It was more about my confidence level. I started doing this when I was like 19, so pretty fresh out of high school. Like I didn't really have a good sense of self, and so cosplay was really cool because I could be somebody else, kind of. So it helped me become more confident taking photos because I could pretend to be the character. As things kind of grew and I started getting more internet followers, it came with, haters or whatever. When I first started, I think the biggest challenge that I had to overcome was growing thicker skin. I think that in everything that you do, there can be negativity, and I think the most important thing is to know that the thing that helped me overcome it, it's a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt actually, nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. And I just try and carry that with me, and it actually helped me grow as a person and just kind of gain a better sense of self and realize that as long as I was happy, it didn't necessarily matter what other people thought. So I guess just self-confidence was one of the biggest challenges that I had to overcome.
Mine was technical. I was lucky to start with an amazing group of friends from high school. We would carpool down to Comic-Con. Tall Silver's mom would drive us in the minivan. So I had a really great group of girls from the get-go. And so my biggest challenge came when I decided spandex was what I should definitely start with. Definitely spandex. And a Harley Quinn costume, because there's no way that's a challenge. Learning how to sew and learning how different fabrics work and how elastic thread is cool, but not necessarily what you should do all the time. So that's my biggest hurdle at the beginning was spandex.
I have two microphones now.
It's a black
I definitely kind of touch on both of theirs, but mine is a little bit different because I am kind of a cosplayer of color, as we say it, and growing up in Texas was kind of hard because it's the South. And I had to kind of overcome people who thought that because of my skin tone I couldn't cosplay certain characters, that I had to cosplay characters that were my skin tone. And I do Harley Quinn too, and people who, once they realized that I wasn't light-skinned, blue eyes, blonde hair, they're like, well, isn't there, like, you can do Vixen? And I'm like, but I like Harley. So it kind of got me down at first, and I almost stopped cosplaying because it got me down so much. But I thought, like, I'm having fun. I enjoy what I'm doing, and I love this character, so what does it matter what other people think? And the Eleanor Roosevelt quote, it's just like, I'm going to do this whether you like it or not, and deal with it. And it's just kind of getting your own head and giving yourself the confidence that you deserve.
Well, I was born in Texas, but lived most of my life in and around LA and La Jolla. Are you there? Yay! Hey. For me, was trying to decide on what I want. Bringing something off the page, having to deal with actual physics. You can work with so many materials, even if you don't have the technical aspect. One nice thing about LA is you pretty much shop for anything, and reaching out and finding leather workers and blacksmiths, because these people have been at their craft for 10, 20 years. And I find all my most satisfying projects have been a group collaboration with others that I find in working with them. But I gotta tell you, it really did bring me out of my shell. I was a computer geek lurking behind a monitor, and if I didn't have the materials, I photoshopped them on me to start out with, and I just grew more and more ambitious. And if it wasn't for Laura Croft and getting out there and seeing a whole wide world of people expressing themselves, I probably wouldn't be here today. So thank you, Laura.
Thank you. For me, it was probably a technical thing. When I first started out in cosplay, my first costume was Princess Zelda. There's a lot going on with that costume. There's armor, there's dyeing fabrics, there's embroidering, there's jewelry making, all sorts of things. And at the time, I only knew how to sew. And I sewed probably at an intermediate level. I wasn't even an advanced sewer. So taking on this kind of costume as my first one was a huge hurdle for me. I got through it, I got past it, and I had redone the costume so many times. It's helped me with other costumes. I learned how to make armor, I learned how to do jewelry, I learned how to sew wigs and all sorts of things. And because of that experience, I was able to flourish in other costumes, though I probably should have started with something smaller, so just saying.
Yeah, for me, just like Kit said, yeah, spandex was what I started with, and woo! Thankfully, I was also in college when I started cosplaying, and I worked in the theater costume shop. So thankfully, I had a mentor to help guide me to working with spandex, but I didn't know how to sew at all when I started this, and way back in 2005, you really kind of had to, you didn't have to, but you had to make your own things, because you really couldn't buy things on eBay, like fully made costumes or anything like that. So you kind of had to be a little bit ambitious. And it was also a social thing, you know. I was a band geek. I wore big baggy shirts because, you know, when I wore something tighter, you know, I would get remarks about my body, and that made me uncomfortable. But cosplay helped me accept my body more, and really accept it, because some of my costumes are more revealing. But it's given me a lot of confidence, and yeah, stepping out and into a character because I love doing the characters that are strong female characters, you know, and that really helps give a confidence boost, yeah.
So, you know, touching on those things as various things where there's a lot of sort of common arcs of what the first hurdles are. You know, a lot of us come from sort of a geeky background where we weren't the people that were just like, oh, well, let's just go down to the tennis community and drink pink wine, you know. we had our own series of hurdles that we got over. And in a lot of ways, cosplay has been sort of a singular source of empowerment for a lot of people. Because of that, we have sort of what we call the cosplay community, where there's this sort of circle of encouragement. I know every single one of you at this table serves as sort of a source of inspiration and encouragement. How do you as individuals kind of act as stewards to that community? Knowing that there's people out there looking up to you, knowing that there's people that are looking to you for inspiration. And now that we've gone from this time when we all started and we're sort of nervous and shy and maybe technically limited and da-da-da, now that that's over, what are you doing to put back in?
Panels like this.
Absolutely.
I have trouble accepting that people look up to me. No, but I just, if anyone needs help, I offer, like, hey, come to me I'd love to give advice, I love to help, because when I first started, a lot of people helped me, and so I just want to keep that good helping others going, really, yeah. Yeah, pay it forward.
With me, a lot of people look at me and they're like, oh, she's got a lot of confidence. I now have confidence because she's wearing so little, yet she's wearing it with pride. I'm not trying to be a sexy thing. I love each and every character, to a degree. And if I'm going to wear a costume, I'm going to wear it like I love the character. I'm not just going to stick my butt out and here it is and trash it up or whatever. So I try to have some class in the things that I wear. So, and I suppose that actually really inspires some people. I get it actually all the time now, especially with Witchblade, and I even heard it yesterday all day when I was wearing Vampirella. A lot of people aren't very confident about their bodies, and you have to understand, you have a body. It's your only body you're ever going to get. You better love it. If you're not going to love it, then what are you doing here?
What?
Seriously, just love your body. That's the best thing you can do for yourself, and it'll give you the confidence that you need to do whichever cosplay you want.
Oh yeah.
Wow. My mind's going to so many different places. When I started cosplaying, I did it kind of in the mode of filmmaking. And when I started putting out there what we were working on, it just called out all the Lara Croft fans around the world. Our music composer was from England. We had a 3D graphic guy from Spain, and we had local Lara Crofts be in it, and people just started doing their own projects, whether it was cosplay or filmmaking. And I do panels, I do interviews, and I love visiting with the young growing heroes and future cosplayers, and most inspiring ones to me that I meet at the Mustard Dystrophy summer camps. We're talking about appreciating what you have and loving your own body and working with what you have. It's really humbling, but the imagination, whatever form, it can take you anywhere. So to be out there, when I cosplay, there's a lot of reasons to cosplay. Some do it for attention, some do it to look good. I do it to celebrate my favorite characters and mythos and what I want to see more of. Might not be popular, but I'm going to put it out there and get some awareness. And if I see other people doing it because of what I did, they're following their own inspirations and passions, then that makes for happier people. If we all did that, I think I've accomplished my goal in life. I was going to be a doctor when I first started out, thought making people healthier would make them happier, but I realized just following my passions and following my nose and what I'm doing and actually inspires people to follow their own inspirations, and I think that makes for happier people.
Well, it's still kind of... Clap for her. Clap for her. It still kind of blows my mind to hear people say that I've inspired them, because I still see myself as the nerdy girl in the back of class drawing in her sketchbook. But the thing that I try to keep in mind, or keep the way that I interact with people, is I like to remember that when I started out, I had no idea what I was doing, and I would try to turn to people that I looked up to for answers. And I get questions sometimes about Harley makeup or how to do Mad Moxie makeup, and they always seem so nervous and shy when they come ask me, and it's just like, oh, you're fine, please calm down. I'm more than happy to give you like a detailed list of what I use and a step-by-step. I just want people to have as much ease of access as I did, and I like to help them get on their way. And it's fun to see, after I've given someone tips with their Moxie makeup, to see them in pictures and they'll send me pictures and it's like, oh, you did it so well, and they're just so happy with themselves and all the pictures that they took at the convention, and they have a great time, and it kind of just warms my heart to be able to help people and help new cosplayers, really. So yeah. Oh yeah, you need a mic.
Now it's my turn to take the mic. I think the best that I have to offer to the community currently, because we're ever evolving as human beings, but currently is just my experience, the technical know-how that I have developed over the past almost 10 years doing this. I made a whole bunch of mistakes when I started, and I am happy to tell you all about them to save you that step. Much like you were saying with Harley makeup, like, give me a call, what you want, I'll help you out. Nobody was there to help me, but I didn't know who to ask. So I try to be very available in case somebody needs to ask. I also think with my other half, Steven, he is a prop maker. So I have a lot of information knowledge in that sphere too. So currently I enjoy giving back by helping people be the best cosplayer they can be in that technical arena. Because I think that's just where I'm strongest. So.
Like Desi was saying, I'm still somewhat uncomfortable with the idea that people would look up to me, because again, like to me, I'm just like a normal human. Like I'm just kind of bopping along doing my thing. But one thing that I do like to focus on is just general positivity. I think that a lot of people tend to get down on themselves, and I think that we're our own worst critics. And I just think that people need to understand that there are positive places and that you don't necessarily need to focus on the negative. One thing that I really believe in is body positivity. Any size, any weight, any color, whatever. Like I just, like Jacqueline was saying, like you're only given one body, like you might as well love it. Just again, positivity. Another thing is I've seen a lot of they call it like slut shaming. Personally, for me, I think that even if you are very, like I tend to be pretty comfortable in what I wear. I've worn Slave Leia, like things like that. I think that if you don't personally agree with that, it's kind of like don't apply your own morals to other people kind of thing. Because, like for instance, I have friends who are very conservative in the way they dress and stuff. And but I would never try and kind of like force them into wearing something they're uncomfortable with. So I ask that people kind of consider that maybe your ideas aren't somebody else's, and you can't try to apply your own ideas of what's appropriate to somebody else. So that's one thing that I try to kind of keep alive.
Amen.
And I would say is make sure you cosplay for yourself, not to please others. It'd be a never-ending cycle. It gets you nowhere. Just do it for your own enjoyment.
Absolutely nowhere.
So to that, show of hands, how many of you either by modeling, acting, making, et cetera, make money for a business as cosplayers?
As a
I
soul
make
maker.
I make myself beer money. He knows what I'm talking about.
How many of you feel that you're establishing a brand as yourself to generate, we're going to go there. How many of you feel that you're generating a brand as yourself to generate revenue out there somehow?
Well, yeah.
Well, do you mean that as a goal or as a byproduct?
Either or.
Okay, because I'd say for myself, I have landed here without trying to get here.
Exactly.
I started out in the minivan with all my friends in high school going to Comic-Con. I had no concept that you could make money doing this. And then as the years went on...
It's only a recent thing, too.
It's a very recent thing. That's what I was going to say.
5 years, yeah.
And suddenly people are selling prints and it was bad. And then it was okay. And then they're doing Patreons and it was bad. But now it's okay. And then you're almost actually expected to do these things, where I had people asking me, where's your prints? I'm like, why would I have a booth? Why would I have prints? So then it's kind of expected of you. And then you find out, oh, having a booth is great because I can sit and people can come to me and I can see everyone. All right, I guess I'll put some prints out. And hey, I like food and I like beer, so I'm in. But on the other hand, my boyfriend, that is his business. Cosplay is his profession. He makes props for people, and that was his goal when he set out. Maybe not when he set out cosplaying, but he did set a goal to make a business and build it.
Right.
So there's a bit of both for everybody. It's all where you land. And that's my answer.
That is something that I'm just getting to realize. Those who came up most recently and was on social media and kind of focused. I mean, I have photos going back, way back when my presence online was very nebulous. I didn't have a Facebook page or a website to kind of harness that. I've been around forever, and I've seen a lot of girls come up and put themselves out there and have the names, and I'm just kind of bebopping around. And it's true, when you come here, it's often, I don't do prints, I don't sell them online, but coming here, I make them available kind of as a courtesy to the con, and some people are interested, and that's great. I guess if, God, we were answering a question? Or were we just kind of chiming in?
Did a business happen, or?
Oh, marketing a brand.
Yeah.
I can't see the forest of the trees. I don't know what a Valley Perez is.
Yeah.
I'm learning myself. I do find that there are things that I like, and then there's people who see me and see something that I don't see. So I'm trying to figure out what that is.
Ditto.
If you had told me even 5 years ago that I would be doing I would be coming to a convention as a guest and doing public speaking in front of a crowd of people and selling my face on paper and I'd laugh at you and I'd be like, yeah, that's real cute. No, it's something that's developed, and it's really only after making costumes for quite some time that I felt comfortable selling my product, which that's the brand that I consider. You know, it's not the print, it's making costumes for other people, and so in that I didn't expect a Facebook page and whatever. But it's definitely helped. It's definitely helped, you know, with my business of making costumes.
I personally don't want to touch money. I'm a little afraid of money. I hear some terrible stories, even about own artists that have sold off their characters and have to owe all this back money to whatever comic book company on what they've been selling at cons for all these years. What I do, I often model for cosplay for comic book artists, for comic book covers, and I say, don't pay me, give me art, give me prints. I got some great Adam Hugheses, I tell you. And when I go out, I'm not one who will do birthday parties, but I will be there for a children's charity, and I'll get per diem, and I'll try and get as many friends as I can, fit into my car, and bring as much superhero-ness I can to the kids. So I'm all about charities, doing things for charities, donating my time for charities. I just look to break even with my sell my prints. It's just covering print charges and maybe a water. And I'm looking for trade.
It's like, I guess for the the long time ones, I mean, we kind of see it more as like the oldies over here.
Well, those of us who existed before Facebook pages existed.
Right. Yeah. I mean, selling prints was a negative thing to do. It was very taboo and everything. And so, like, us selling it, it's like, personally, I see it more as like I'm supporting the costumes I'm making rather than actually making money to support myself. I mean, I make costumes as a living, but for companies like, you know, like the other companies and whatnot, not for my own. Like, I manufacture them, which is great, but it's not my personal name that's going on the costumes. It's somebody else's name. So, I mean, just going from there, it's like, if I sell prints or anything, it's just going towards costumes. Yeah. Or like travel or something. That's all it really is to me.
My answer is actually quite different from most of their answers. I got into this a few years ago, and just as a hobby, going to cons, just being around fans and just generally having a good time. But I had created a Facebook page for anonymity. I just got tired of all the random friend requests coming in, and I just wanted to make sure that I had like a safe spot where people didn't know where I work, where I go to school, things like that. So I created a page in 2012, and when I first created it, it was just, you know, my friends and stuff. But as I started going to more cons and stuff, my numbers shot up rapidly. I don't really know how, I don't really know what specifically I was doing, but it just took off. And 2 years later, I'm at 1.3 million. So to me, that's still just mind-blowing. But once I started getting into like the 20,000 range, I was like, okay, this is something that, you know, maybe I can actually do, you know, full time. So like they were saying, they didn't necessarily, like, selling prints was more taboo. And when I was coming out, people, again, were expecting it. So I started selling prints. I didn't really do like the guest convention thing too often. This is actually the first time that I'm traveling for a convention at all. But for me, yes, it is very much about marketing myself as a brand. I'm not just a cosplayer, I'm also a model, and I've actually been doing a lot more modeling recently. I don't really know where I'm going to go with this. I definitely want to keep cosplaying and keep that part alive just because for me as a fan it's important. But I see no limit to this, honestly. Like she was saying, Patreon. Patreon is, it gets a little bit of a bad rep, but for me personally, it's about, like think back to like the old days of like opera houses when patrons would pay and then that's how the productions were put on. So my fans come to me and they basically say, hey, you know, I want you to be able to create more cosplays, I want you to be able to do more shoots, I'd like to support you. I'm not really comfortable accepting money without, you know, an exchange. So Patreon basically allows me to set up tiers, and people can donate $5, and that would give them access to my Patreon feed, and that would include things like preview photos, unreleased photo sets, progress, just little kind of things that you wouldn't get on my other social media sites. And then it also goes all the way up to getting a print every month, and that's something that's exclusive that'll never be, you know, sold at any other event. So I've kind of started thinking of this as more of like a lucrative kind of situation. But to me, in the end, it's definitely about the fandom. Like it comes down to just loving what I'm doing.
A couple of real good points touched on in there, which was where I was kind of hoping to get this into, which is, you know, we talk about things that are taboos within costume, you know, and cosplaying. And costuming is what they called it when some of us got started before it was cosplay.
Yeah.
And we just did it because, hey, we're nerdy, let's put on goofy clothes and go hang out with our friends, and it's what we did. And as that sort of moved along, and now that it's cosplay, and now the concept of the mixing of cosplay and modeling and the mixing of cosplay and performing has sort of hybridized. There was this sort of phenomenon in the 90s where everybody's like, oh, hey, I'm a model, I need a hook. I'm going to get into fetish. And then in 2000, it's, I'm a model and I need a hook. I'm going to get into burlesque. And now there's this sort of influx of, oh, hey, I'm a model and I need a hook. I'm going to get into cosplay. And so and we talked about, okay, prints are good, prints are bad. Prints are good, prints are bad. What are some of the taboos that you see within the community, and how do you encourage otherwise behavior? How do you decide if something's a taboo? What in your book, you know, is something that people shouldn't be doing versus things that they should be encouraging, discouraging?
Well, Alex was talking about Patreon, and I'm still wrestling whether or not I want to do something like that. I feel like it's taboo to me on a personal level, but also socially, some people will cause a fuss about it because how do I want to phrase this?
They see it as asking for free money, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I want to preface just real quick, there are no right or wrong answers.
Right. And I don't think.
No, I absolutely not.
And I don't
Everyone is
think.
going to have their opinions, and I will not.
Right. No, but I don't think poorly of people who have Patreon. Just personally for me, I'm
Absolutely
struggling
Speak
with
freely.
whether or not I want to do it, and I consider that still taboo. I don't think prints are considered taboo anymore.
Not anymore.
It's so weird how it.
Yeah, how it used to be so taboo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like people evolve. Get over it.
I can't think of anything that's taboo that I'm not really comfortable with. I remember starting out with Witchblade, it was taboo to wear something very revealing. When we first started in cosplay, you did not reveal. Like, you just didn't. Because if you did, you were considered one of those girls or whatever. I remember one of my earlier costumes was D-Lit from Record of Lotus wore Sacrifice D-Lit. And I had a very high slit. I mean, it was a very conservative dress, but it has a high slit. And it can kind of show a little bit of side butt. Nothing compared to Witchblade, just saying. But back then, I mean, I got a lot of hate just for that photo. For that one photo that I posted of not Witchblade, of Record of Lotus War's D-Lit. That was taboo back then. That was 2006?
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah. Now it's like, meh, I'm wearing nipple pasties and it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Bay Area. It would be weird if you didn't, I guess. I've heard of Patreon and everything. Personally, it's not for me, and it's not that I look down on anyone who does. It's, how I acquire money to pay for my cosplays is just through prints and, whatever it is that I prefer giving a tangible item to somebody so that way they can appreciate it more. But I completely understand the whole concept of somebody wanting to support someone's cosplays just so they can see it and even get sneak peeks of it. That's actually a reward itself, too, that most people don't quite realize.
I never think that people want to see the work in progress.
Yeah, right. I don't think they want to see
Yeah, maybe I have weird fans. They always want to see the work in progress on my Witchblade.
Well, hey. I want to see that.
For me, it's a question of what do I want to spend my time doing. My Diana Prince job, I do work for local government. I'm a problem solver and take care of the shepherds of the community, and that pays okay, so I'm not hurting too bad that there's something I really want to do. And a lot of times I end up meeting the creators, the artists, the families of, I've got the granddaughter of the creator of Wonder Woman on my speed dial, and I'm gonna go see her next the next 2 months. And for me, taboo is doing something disrespectful with the character, wearing the character. I kind of hold myself to a different moral. When I'm dressed as Wonder Woman, I'm not as laid back or loose with the language as Valerie can be. And if we do a print, if we do a style of somebody's work and put it out there, that kind of goes back around. I know that there are some artists and those who take pictures of me or drawings that are just a straight image that I put out there, and they're selling it. And what can you say? I think the only thing that really disturbs me is when someone takes a photo of a cosplayer and they'll take their head off and put someone else's head, or they'll manipulate it to be a suggestive situation. Even if you don't, I've seen pop singers from all over the world take pictures of cosplayers and then put their star's face on there, and then they don't even credit the person who did the work or the model. To me, not giving credit is the most taboo thing you can do.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's definitely the biggest one, is people not giving credit to either the photographers or the cosplayers, because our photographers are kind of our unsung heroes. We get, thank you, photographers. Our face is out there so people can recognize us more, whereas our photographers, their name is just at the bottom of the picture or tagged in the post, wherever it is. But I think the biggest taboos that I've encountered are either nudity or money related. If you're showing too much skin, people will talk down about you or say, well, rah, 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 about her. Do you see how gross she looks? Or if you're trying to raise money for a fan film or for your Patreon, you'll have, I've lost friends before over, I started a funding project for a fan film I wanted to do, and actually had people message me saying, I can't believe you would stoop to that level to beg for money from people when all you're doing is making a costume. It's like, I'm making something out of love for this character and I want to make a fan film. I'm not just taking money and laughing in my home. It's like, ha ha, money, woohoo! Yeah. And I think, thankfully, in recent years, it's kind of gotten better with that. People are still kind of iffy about Patreon, which I'm totally fine with. Like, you don't have to like it, whatever. But just accept that not everyone who is asking for help with costumes or fan films is just trying to take your money to get rich off of you. And, yeah. Oh, yes.
I don't have too much to say that hasn't already been said. I try not to think about it personally, what could be taboo, because I don't want to have negative thoughts on people for, Patreon's one keeps coming up, for having a Patreon. Because who am I to judge that? Also, give us a year. I bet everybody will have one, and no one will think it's taboo. I saw it with Prince. Like, I just don't want to think that way. So I don't really see a lot of taboos personally. But then you brought up all the ones about, the photoshopping. Like, oh yeah, it's just awful. Recasters, you scum of the earth. That stuff is awful. Not crediting your photographers, not crediting your commissioners. Oh yeah, for those who don't know, recasting is when you buy a prop or you just acquire it in some means, and then you make a mold of it, and you start casting your own versions of that prop and saying it's your work. Not cool. You just stole it. You made a mold. Congrats. But selling things out of that mold, you're selling another artist's sculpture. You're selling another artist's work. So those people, no good.
Take it down. No.
And can you add what Patreon is exactly? What do you explain for some people that might not know?
Oh yeah, I just basically said it was like a crowdfunding kind of deal. Like it's a way for fans to help support and see certain costumes. Like sometimes I'll do like certain things, like I'll have them vote on like what costume I'll do next or something like that. I'm trying to get together like a Google Hangout just for like my patrons so that they can kind of like feel like they have like that special connection.
When they can't make it to that con.
Yeah, exactly. For me, taboo-wise, like Kit was saying, I try not to think about things as taboo because I can't like put my idea of what is or isn't correct on somebody else's, what somebody else is doing, you know? But like they said, not crediting people, that all really does suck because I've been reposted, like Reddit. I got on Reddit and everyone was telling me, oh, you got, like, and it had so many, like, yeah, absolutely. And, like, no credit. I'm like, oh, how many people did I lose that day? I mean, it does suck when, but sometimes people do, like, take stuff and accidentally, but I feel like if you can't find the source, you should probably just say source unknown or, Google image search. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I find it all the time when I need a source.
Reverse
image
Save, search, there you go.
It's done.
And just to sort of touch on the crediting part, I've been seeing it more often. People, they're usually newcomer cosplayers and stuff, and I don't think they know better or anything, but when you take, say if I wanted to look like Wonder Woman, oh, but I don't have the costume, so I'm going to take Valerie Perez's costume and Photoshop it onto me. Didn't ask for her permission, posted it online, and just said, oh, look at me, I'm Wonder Woman. That's kind of a taboo area. Like, I mean, you shouldn't do that. Like, that's her work, that's her posing, that's her putting the time into, like, working in that costume and looking fabulous in that costume. And then for you to just kind of take that costume, Photoshop it on yourself.
Sorry, old Greg was just smiling at me down there. I think along that lines, like, I wanted to ask, Belle, have you come in, because you make costumes for people, like you do commissions. Have you come across anybody who says that they made your costume that you made for them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a big taboo. If you buy a costume from someone who made it for you, don't say that it's yours.
Someone posted a picture of me on a, like, there's a big group on Facebook that's like, costumes for heroes for hire, no costumes for sale or something.
Yeah.
Someone posted a picture of me, claimed that I was their girlfriend and that they made my costume and that they were it was a costume that I'm fairly known for. It was Captain Marvel and everyone was like, So thankfully it was a picture that people knew and people stepped up and were like, hey dude, you're full of crap.
That used to happen a lot on Etsy. I'd get notices that people would post pictures of me in costume. There's my satin suit or this one or my boots, and they'll say, would you like to buy this? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how can they do that?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's everywhere on
The
eBay.
Chinese sites too, they steal your pictures and then they claim to be selling that product, and it's not true. And you can't, as many
You can't get after
you can't
them, really.
you can't get them to take down your picture. It's just impossible to try and deal with overseas people. So all you can do is say like, hey guys, this is happening on this
Don't buy.
bad Chinese site. Don't do it. Go comment on their page and say like, hey, that's not your work at all. This is actually this person. Yeah.
So we've got just a little bit of time left. I want to do kind of a.
Oh, wow.
I know we've
Us
been.
women, we like to talk.
We've been rolling. Awesome. Definitely wanted to take some time and open up to questions from the audience.
We're already shipping. We're here.
Questions?
Yeah, gentlemen, too.
I admire all of you for being very confident, and you've talked about when people look up to you. How do you handle when there's children looking up to you and the over-sexualization of women in this genre, and how do you address that, especially with young boys looking at that, thinking that's appropriate, or young girls thinking, I should be that? I mean, you as an adult have every right, but how do you handle that when someone little is looking up to you?
So nothing that I've worn some costumes that have been considered risque, but nothing that I've worn has been less material than a bathing suit at a beach. I mean, if you bring children to a beach, it's not any different. It's really not any different in my opinion. Slave Leia has more material than a bathing suit. I think that's more a parenting thing. I don't know.
I can tell you a recent story that happened at this convention, actually. Not in this costume, ironically. Yes, it was not yesterday. It was the day before. I was in Vampirella, and we were waiting for the elevator. I just got in costume, first time wearing Vampirella. Yeah, you all know Vampirella, right? Okay, good. Yeah. Keep that image in your head. So, so I'm in. I know it's burned in there. Sorry. So I'm waiting. I'm at the Hilton. I'm just got in costume. We're waiting at the elevator, and worst case scenario happens. The elevator doors open, and there are 4 little boys inside with a mom, and I turned beet red and all over my body, and I'm like, I matched the costume, really. I was like this red, and so immediately I scooped to like a wall so they can't see. At least I can only offend them from one side, and the mom starts laughing, and Michael starts laughing, and it just turned into this, okay, it's all right, it's awkward, but it's okay. And so far, I mean, people have pushed their kids towards me, and they're like, hey, take a picture with my kid. I'm like, really? You're cool, thanks. But once in a great while, the only time I ever get any kind of flack or anything about wearing something that's sexualized to the common eye, it's been online. Very rarely in person. People, they see the costume, they have an appreciation for the costume because they're seeing it in person. They see the quality and the love and the care that I'm bestowing in this costume. So whenever there's a child around and everything, I mean, I just try to be in more character than usual because it's like, this is a kid who's going to believe I'm this person. So if I'm going to look like this, I better act like a lady. That's, someone looking like this should act like a lady, especially. I'm a princess in this costume, so I should act like a princess.
I think intent and manner is a big part of it.
Yeah.
If you just come off naturally and comfortable with yourself, it's not like you're wearing a costume. For me, it's as long as Belle said, bikini. It covers, your bathing suit's covered. I know a lot of conventions, the butt cheeks have to be covered. You see girls running around with just pasties, but as long as their butt's covered, they can get in. And I'll just be sensitive to where I'm going. If it's a family event, I will line my de Thores and wear a skirt around it. When I was Vampirella last year, I did the dress version, but did the lesser costume for just photos for the art book. So it's like going to Dragon Con after hours. There's those kind of costumes. You just wear less and less as the night goes on and the kids go home.
Usually because you're drinking more and more.
Yeah.
Often the reason.
Any more tickets?
Nah, I got it.
Honestly, this is a subject that I actually feel pretty strongly about. To me, a human body is a body. I don't see anything shameful about the human body. We all came into the world like that. We're all going to leave like that. That's it for me. It's a body. And if you... again, it's a parenting thing. If a kid walks up and goes, Mommy, what are those? They're boobs.
Well, but if I'm going to a hospital, for instance, and this can be kind of a boobalicious Wonder Woman, I'll wear a cape and de-emphasize the cleavage and give advance warning to anywhere I'm going, what their dress code might be and this is how I'm going to wear, and try and be proactive about anything. And if it's costume malfunction area, I'll just do it for photo shoots and not in person.
Okay, we got a question.
Yeah.
More questions?
Do you have creeps or guys trying to get your numbers? And if you did, what would you do?
I never tell.
I've had several creeps. I think the creepiest thing that happened to me actually wasn't in person. it's probably happened to some of you ladies too. I discovered that for 6 months, someone had taken all of my personal pictures and my cosplay pictures and created an account on another website and pretended to be me. And had 2 different relationships with people, because I only found out because I started getting messages on my actual page saying, hey, you haven't responded on this website. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, you know, your picture's over here. So I go over there and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just my cosplay pictures. It was like pictures of me at school with friends who don't even cosplay, with family, and just like...
They get it from like your Instagram or other ways.
It's really, really creepy, and the only way to deal with that is to contact the website and get it down, and hopefully... I went on like complete social media lockdown. Like anything that wasn't my cosplay pages was just private to anyone who was in my life, or even if they weren't, then sorry. I don't know who did it. But creeps in person. I think anytime we're all boobalicious, like, I'm not today obviously, but I was Moxie yesterday, and there's always the people who will like get way too close and like squeeze you and like, or lay their head on your shoulder and they just talk to your chest. It happens a lot, and the only way that I get through it is just kind of like a, that's nice, thank you, bye.
So I have a thing that I like to do online on my Facebook. Some of you guys already know it. So on my fan page, I get a lot of creepers.
Yeah.
They like to private message me, whether it's pictures of their genitalia or offerings of money to sleep with me or whatever in between. And what I like to do is I like to mess with them.
That's what she does. It is glorious.
It's a lot of fun. When someone asks for naked pictures, I just show them naked pictures of a dude. It goes really well. It goes a long way.
Google.
Yeah, I know. Just go to the Google and just search like, you know, like ugly naked guy or something. Save the picture and then send it to them. It's nice. I remember once I had a supposed billionaire from some far off country. Where? No. Could have been an Arabian prince. I'm not sure. Who knows? But he was offering me like $20,000 to sleep with me, and I said, yeah, you know, it's a little low ball. And then he said, okay, how about $60,000 for dinner? And I'm like, what? So like I told him I was a velociraptor and I couldn't possibly date him, and I apologized profusely for it. So just, if you have a creeper, mess with them. It's the funniest thing.
And then post it online. Do not erase their name.
Yeah.
Show your friends.
In person, really try and stand up for yourself. Don't just...
Call them on it.
Yeah, call them on it,
That's the only
and
way they're gonna stop.
and don't be afraid to ask for security. If you know,
I've had
if
people
it,
kicked out of cons.
don't ever
and
be
I'd do it again.
afraid. Don't ever.
And I will.
Think, yeah. So
actually looking
stand
out
up
for
for
you.
yourself and go get security if need be.
I definitely recommend not cosplaying alone. Going out after cons, you know, you might want to bring a long coat. I mean, it could be cold, but
several friends.
yes,
Very tall
don't
boyfriend.
be alone.
Tall
Absolutely.
guy friends, boy friends.
In this PC ridiculous world, as long as you're respectful, have you gotten any feedback about, oh, I'm playing a person of a different, you know, skin color, whether it's green, black, white, whatever, and how do you handle that?
Well, I'm kind of waiting for someone, because I'm a very pasty white girl. I'm wearing a very reddish tan kind of color. Like, character is actually Martian, but I'm almost waiting for someone to say, like, you shouldn't be cosplaying that character because she's, you know, more darker skinned. Well, she's Martian. She's not of an ethnicity. She's not from a country of anywhere here on Earth. So I personally say, like, if you, like, changing the color of your skin, it's kind of a gray area in cosplay. I've had friends that have cosplayed, they're a German cosplayer, really great Connor cosplayer from Assassin's Creed, and he cosplayed like the Connor, like he's half Indian, so he wore a couple shade darker makeup and everything, and he got a lot of hate for it. Well, in our eyes, we're seeing it as we love the character, we just want to be it, and we want to show the accuracy of it and everything. And I mean, as long as you're personal, this is just my own personal opinion. As long as you're not doing like really anything offensive with it. But I mean, it's a touchy subject. I don't want to say
I
like
think
yeah,
we go down this
but it's
rabbit
not
hole because
taboo.
this is a panel in and of itself, and unfortunately we're
Okay, I'm
over
so
time
sorry.
and need to clear this room for the next panel.
So
Yeah.
all on that note.
I've gotten 3. Stop. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for your objectivity.